Do you or somebody you know suffer from itchings of arcana? Well, check out Volzar hand cream, folks, to handle all the itchiness. Freshen buds now.
Fresh and
All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh and Buds. I'm your host, Tommy Fresh, and you are all of my buds. And today we are joined by Craig, aka Poopy, from the 03 Dropcast, alongside with Smithel and Bryce over there, which I'm recording with them tomorrow, actually, funny enough.
Yeah.
It's a big 03 drop week. I figured, got to get Craig on. And eventually get Bryce on as well.
Yeah, get the whole family involved.
The whole family. We've had Smith on. We had him on a couple weeks ago. How you doing, my friend? What's going on?
I'm doing great. I'm just coming back from a commoner armory tonight. That was a lot of fun. It was my first time playing Katsu in a while. So that, that's always nice to get to play a hero that outside of the current meta is maybe not really played. So,
well, commoner... I know there's like one commoner armory and like a little too far from me in South Jersey, but we don't really get a lot of commoner around me. So that's really cool. Do they do that every week? The commoner?
No, we started doing it maybe once a month. And honestly, I don't even know if it's every month. I go every Tuesday. So whatever the event is, I'll find out the day of and I'll bring a deck for it. But we've been doing it for a while. I know last time I played Enigma. Before that, I think Ira. So we've done it for a couple of months now.
That's cool. I mean, Commoner is a great format, and obviously your co-host over at 03 Dropcast has a storied history with Commoner. I'm sure all of you do as well. Now, we got to get to know you, get the buds to know you. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the stream that happened last week. I recorded the podcast before the stream happened, so I didn't even get to talk about any of the things that were revealed. It wasn't a whole lot, but we did get some kind of tidbits here and there, including a whole new hero.
Yeah, I think you buried the lead there. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot, but it was a whole lot.
It wasn't like, whatever, a whole new hero. But we'll get to the new hero in a bit. But first, your name's Craig.
Yeah.
You go by Poopy.
Yeah.
Interesting name, I will say, right?
Yeah.
I think not the most common name. Where does it come from?
So the story with Poopy is its roots are in the name Poop King. And Poop King is just like not what I want to like have people know me by, but I still had a sentimental attachment to it. So I was like, Poopy's a little cuter. But Poop King was just, there was a period of time, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, where I heard a bunch of people say like, oh, we love a short king. We love a bald king. And one day I just like said to myself, like, we love a Poop King. And I thought that was really funny. So I made it my Discord handle. And then like 2 years later, I started playing Flesh and Blood and I cracked a Faendal Spring Tunic and wanted to like show it off to people. And so I joined my local community's Discord server and was like, hey, like I just got into the game and I got this tunic. And they were like, that's awesome, but who is Poop King? And I showed up to the armory that night and people were going like, who is Poop King? And I kind of had to be like, I'm Poop King. And from there it stuck. And, I thought about when we started making content, I was like, this is a ridiculous name. And, some people are going to see it and not take me seriously or, whatever happens. Who cares? I'm Poopy, that's how my locals know me. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Listen, if it sticks, it's good, right?
Yeah.
Like a good nickname can go far. I have an Uncle Stinky that's obviously not his real name. It's just, you gotta embrace those kinds of nicknames, and I'm glad that you did. Although I think Poop King is also great.
I'll tell you, my girlfriend hates both of them.
Oh, I'm
sure. Deeply. We had to have a conversation. She came to an armory night for a Blitz pre-constructed night, and I had to sit the guys down beforehand and say, no one call her Poop Queen, please. She will hate that. She was a good sport, but yeah, I had to just be like, please do not. She will not find it as funny as we do. But yeah.
Yeah, understandably, but she's still queen in all of our eyes. Although maybe not the Poop Queen, which is totally fair. Now, speaking of card games, when did card games come into play? Because you opened a Fyendal Spring Tunic in this game.
Yeah.
Were you playing cards before you started playing Flesh and Blood?
Yeah, so when I graduated college in 2019, I moved out to Seattle, and I got a job at Mox Boarding House. I was really into D&D, and Mox Boarding House is owned by Card Kingdom, and they are one of the largest retailers of Magic the Gathering. While I was there, I was working as a bartender at a restaurant attached to this game shop, and we played a lot of Commander, and I really enjoyed Commander. At the time, it was still pretty young. You know, wasn't a baby, but it had some Commander products, but Magic kind of existed in spaces where it was like, okay, we have our competitive and we have our Commander, and they hadn't really bled into each other as much. And then as time went on, moved back home to Pittsburgh, got factory recalled by my parents during the pandemic, and everything worked out. I got a group of friends here, and we started drafting Magic, and we played Commander every couple of weeks, and I wasn't loving it, but I was loving deck building, and I was like, really, like, there was something I loved about Commander. It just wasn't playing Commander. And then we continued to do more drafts, always enjoyed that, but I didn't enjoy it as much at an LGS when you're playing best of 3 against strangers. And I decided one day on a whim when I was in Michigan to go to a great game shop called Lantern Games, and they had a CEDH night, and I brought a casual Commander deck to a CEDH night. I ended up in a 5-person pod, and the person next to me was on a 5-color God Tree deck. It took like 15 minutes to figure out what land they were searching their deck for, and I ended up winning the game to everyone's dismay. Through combat damage. Like, these CDH players were like, this is stupid. Like, I was not playing the same game they were. And as soon as it was done, I walked up to the owner, and I was like, you need to teach me Flesh and Blood. Because he had, I knew that he played it, I knew that he carried it, and I just said, like, this is not working for me, but the allure of card games is there. The like love of the environment and like sitting around a table with friends is there, but this game isn't scratching the itch it used to. And so he said, we have a beginner armory tomorrow night. I went to it. They put me on Dorinthia. I was like, that's all right. Then they gave me Katsu, and I was like, this is the game that I will play forever. Immediately it was just like, how do I get more of this? And luckily, Pittsburgh has a great scene. So when I came back from that trip, I just fit right in our locals. I went to one armory at Green Tree Sports Cards, and from there, I've been there every Tuesday. It was immediately just like, this is my place. So
yeah. And we got to shout out John from Green Tree Sports Cards too. Because
he's the man.
Honestly, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. John is my like comfort person in this game. When I see John, I'm just like, yes, this is he gets it, and it's like it brings in great people like to play. I've met so many people from the Pittsburgh community, and like they're all awesome, and it's just kind of nurtured by John and the other stores around there, which there seems to be a ton, and that's so sweet. And I mean, I was a EDH hater, I will say. I
try and play it down a little when I'm like, EDH, it's pretty good, but I got to the point where I was just like, I hate this game.
Yeah, I think funny enough, to call back to an episode with Nathan Crawford from the Card Guys, and we kind of had talked about like multiplayer formats and even kind of like UPF to a certain extent. And I kind of like, because there was a listener question for Nathan, and I said, like, do you like UPF or do you like those multiplayer games? And he kind of put it in a way that I never really realized what I didn't like in like playing Commander when I did play Magic was like, you have to be in second for the whole game, right? Yeah. You can't just be winning, which is a weird balance. And some people like that, and I think that's totally fine.
Personally, my big issue with it will always be that we have an agreement in 1v1 that like I'm going to try and hit you as hard as I can. You're going to try and hit me as hard as you can. And the politics to me, while I get the allure of it, and I have played games of UPF where it was really fun with the politicking. I recently spoke to Derek on our podcast and we talked to him about some great UPF games, but I find it much friendlier when we're like, we're going to kill each other versus why are you trying to kill me when you could be trying to kill someone else? I get so much like social anxiety about justifying my decisions in the game when someone's like, you're signaling me out. And it's like, well, I have to signal you out. I have to signal someone out. And in 1v1, like the only people that don't like that are Enigma players. Like, why are you talking to me?
I mean, listen, they're still doing pretty well, those Enigma players. But I totally get that. And you kind of sit down and like, these are the rules that we are playing. I am going to try to kill you. You're going to try to kill me. Maybe the
and
way
all's fair.
All's fair in Flesh and Blood. So I totally get that. Now let's talk about the 03 Dropcast.
Yeah.
Relatively newer podcast on the scene within the past year here. We had Smith on. We talked about the advent of it. What's your role there, and what role did you play in kind of getting some content made by the Pittsburgh crew?
So they had approached me at an armory just saying, hey, we've wanted to start a podcast. What do you think of that? And I said, yeah, like I'm in. And for the first couple months, we had just kind of been doing stuff behind the scenes. And I think that my role is a little bit of the person who says like, all right, let's not wait. Let's jump on something. Let's let's pick up the camera and record. Doesn't have to be good. But I'm also the critic, which is difficult because like I have a background in design, so I'm very very focused on details and making sure things are, establishing a brand and these kind of things that I have an eye for that I think helps the production value in the whole. But I think I like to think that I'm a person who's encouraging us to make content even when we might not have the freshest idea or anything like really new to say to the conversation. But the way I think about it is I have an odd moment in my day and I'm like scouring YouTube for Flesh and Blood content that I haven't consumed. I mean, like ravenous. I want it in my ear all the time. And for that reason, there can't be enough of it out there. So someone's looking for it. Let's keep making it and getting it to them. But I also do think that I'm very much the person who's like, hey, I love what you did, and I have several notes. Like, let me tweak this file a bit before we post it. But yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I'm the same way. I even like Acilio content, right? Like, which is like the new obsession, right? For me, and I'm like, I want to watch more Acilio gameplay, and I've seen all of Yudo's videos.
I need to get in touch with Yudo and be like, do you need a new mic?
Yeah, Yudo needs a new mic. But I've seen all the videos.
But he's great.
Oh yeah, and it just like has such a great eye for the deck and just Wizards in general, and And then you're done. Like, I mean, I'm not going to rewatch them. I already know what happened. So, I made some Acilio content and like people liked it, right? Like That's just exactly it. Just if you want it, you gotta do it. And this was the advent of Fresh and Buds as well. When I first got into the game, there was a few podcasts and I listened to them, but wasn't anything that felt like what I was looking for. So why wait and just put it out there into the world, which is a great way for people to start making content. Like if you want to make content in this space and you feel like you're on the outside looking in, like that's by choice. We'll welcome you. Like people are super, super happy to collaborate, to help each other. I mean, we were on Twitter for like 3 days before a couple people in this space were like, hey, I noticed you have an audio problem. Can I give you some advice? Can I help you out? We talked a little bit about that off, before this, but, Greg reached out right away to tell me that my microphone was backwards. And so, like, you don't need to know everything. You can just jump right in, and there's great resources out there to get your content to people. Fabrary is fantastic. So, I mean, this more than I think other hobbies, like the creator community, it's accessible. People can jump right in. There's plenty of room. Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to get the amount of guests that I get if people weren't just ready to talk about Flesh and Blood, right? Yeah. It's like even if it's about content, people want to talk about Flesh and Blood. So yeah, keep that in mind for anybody who are looking to get into content creation. Now, you mentioned you came from a commoner armory. You just did a video on the channel about your Rosetta bulk and kind of converting it into just like kind of little commoner-ish bulk decks, maybe closer to Clash or whatever, as great ways to kind of practice for limited and stuff like that. Is this something you've done before with like your bulk? And is this something that you want to continue to do for the channel with each set that comes out? I've thought about before, like doing this and then donating it to stores. I've thought about organizing like events where like, for like teaching people Flesh and Blood, but I never have done it before. And so this was my first time actually taking my bulk and like sitting down and deciding like, I'm going to use, the whole buffalo here. I'm going to actually like get some usage out of this stuff that I'm never going to touch. And for me, it started with, like you mentioned, I wanted to get more experience in Rosetta before draft PQ. And I do get chances to draft, but I'm also got a pretty full schedule sometimes. And just sometimes you can't get 8 people and you're just like, well, what other options do we have? Can we do it online? Can we do this or that? And I just thought, okay, well, every time I think about what I'm going to draft, it's like pack one, pick one, Felling of the Crown. Like easy. It's easy. Like it's all very the variance is really great in what you can get in a pack. So I thought, well, the one thing that's not super varied is you're always going to get commons. So if I just know the commons really well, if I learn the commons and able to, in a pack with no rares, able to point to what is the best one for what I'm building, that make me better for draft. And I think this is definitely something that I'll continue to do for as new sets come out. I imagine that they'll probably be not immediately on release because I feel like the commons are what takes me the longest to really like get a sense of value of. Like, I don't think I would have looked at Summer's Fall when this set first came out and been like, you passed Summer's Fall? Like, I thought Blossoming Decay was like amazing. I actually think Summer's Fall is rare, but I my opinion of these cards that are more at the common level that are just like slightly different changes pretty wildly. Whereas a lot of Majestics, it's like, I knew Succumb to Temptation was going to be gross. Like that's pretty obvious if you have played enough Runeblades, or you can see where it would fit into your deck. That's obvious, but the commons, it takes a little bit more time. Yeah, and it is kind of interesting because, like, especially coming out of Sealed, right? Mm-hmm. coming out of sealed, the Earth decks felt like, well, these are going to come together, and it's going to be, it's always going to be good. And then you get to draft, and you're just like, I am lucky to get 3 decomposed cards, and you're like, I'll take any decomposed card. Initially, you're like, I don't need bad ones. No, I need all of them. Give me every single one you can have. So it's just, I guess, that kind of knowledge.
And what I love about Rosetta is that to me was very much a season of Rosetta, and then there was the next season, which was I don't need any decomposed cards. I'm not building with Earth. I'm just building like Rune. This is just 7s, or this is just like buffed perennial Aether Bloom and just fatigue. Like I did hit a point where I was just like, hero ability, no thank you. Right? But no, it's a great set for that reason. I think is that it does put you in a position where you really have to like value a game plan early on and like commit to it. Yeah, and I'm obsessed with this draft set, but it's like one of those things you mentioned. You can't always get 8 people, and it's not like we have a consistent online presence. I know that there are options to play online, but it's sometimes harder for other people, but it's such a cool set. It's one of those ones like this one was like really sweet. And then like when I talked to Kieran last week, and he's mentioning like these different archetypes that they all kind of discovered while they're testing it, because obviously they're just drafting it all the time, and I'm just like, I want to find them. I'm not gonna lie, I was, when I was putting the comments together, looking like I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find the one they're not. Like, I'm the first person to discover that you can Deadwood Dirge your arcane cussing. Like, that's gonna. Whoa.
Yeah, but super sweet set. Now, continuing on the Flesh and Blood train, let's get to your fresh faves. We got to find out what your favorite cards are, and we're starting off with a banger. Who is your favorite hero?
Easiest Katsu answer of my life. Katsu. He's the man. In fact, you know what's funny? Going back to the name thing, my online name, like my screen name for things forever, was Classic, and so I do feel a certain kinship to Mr. Classic for both being bald Katsu fans, like who went by Classic. Like I knew he was of my flock when I heard that he was a Katsu fan. But yeah, Katsu.
That's a great answer. And to be honest, you guys look like you could be brothers, probably cousins, maybe.
Yeah. Hey, we got really good shaped heads for losing hair, and that's important.
That is important. Yeah. Now, what's your favorite weapon or pair of weapons if you're going with the Katsu theme?
You know, I love me some harmonized Kadachis. And this is a bit pandering. I really love Barbed Castaway.
Ooh, yeah.
I really love, like, I love the aim counter Riptide. That's my, I don't play the aggro. I play more like a mid-range. I really enjoy that weapon.
Yeah, when Riptide first came out, it was all Barbed Castaway all the time, and then I took the Dreadbore pills, and I'm just on Dreadbore all the time, which is a sweet bow as well. But sometimes when you're playing first, or actually it doesn't even matter if you're on the play or on the draw or whatever, or playing second, and just being able to load something at instant speed, it really makes you miss it. It really makes you miss it when you're not playing with the Barbed Castaway.
I don't think that I am like, I think that I'm scratching the surface of this. Like, I've had a taste of the Riptide pill. Like, I'm not like fully into it, but I really loved all of the cards that came out of the Azalea deck. I mean, Stone Rain is one of my favorite cards right now. I love that card.
Include and the equipment in that is just like so cool. That was the Azalea armory deck. I mean, I guess it was. Thanks, LSS. Although I'm using none of those cards currently, but I am loving Plan for the Worst. That card,
dude.
It's so cool.
Love that card. I love that card. And I've heard people talk about it, be like I'm not interested on whether or not that card is good. I'm playing it. Like, I love Seek and Destroy and Plan for the Worst are just like, that's how I want to play Riptide.
I got news for you. It is good. I mean, in some matchups it doesn't feel like it, but whatever, you just block with it or pitch it. But like you play that card against a hero that can't use all the cards in their hand, and you're just like, oh, well, here we go. Super sweet card. Now, what's your favorite equipment?
Okay, this is going to be another Katsu one. It's Breaking Scales. Breaking Scales, I love. And I'll say, because I think the next one would be just favorite all around card.
Yeah.
Is that where we're going?
Yep.
Ancestral Empowerment is easily my favorite card. Breaking Scales and Ancestral Empowerment feels so good, and it comes from a very fair era of Flesh and Blood. Like Welcome to Wraith is just, no talents, very few insane cards. That card just feels so good. Both that and Ancestral Empowerment and Breaking Scales and Katsu, where it's like, oh, you blocked perfectly. Oh, damn. I'm going to pump it one and draw a card anyway. Then I'm going to discard her and I'm going to get my Whelming, and that's going to draw me a card. And I mean, I love that. That's definitely my favorite equipment and card.
The threat of activation there, it's like a nice little mini game. I mean, it's a nice little mini game with an opponent that's keen to it, and then it's a nice little game for yourself if your opponent forgets about it, right? You're just like, oh, there we go. You fell for it. But so sweet. So
having Battle Worn is like Battle Worn is so underrated, I think, just in general, of like, when you see Battle Worn on an equipment, start with the assumption that it's cracked. Like, it's like, if it has any other line of text on it, that's a really good card. I love it so much.
It is funny too, because I think like the Zens are now playing the one from Round the Table.
So yeah, they are playing the boots from Round the Table.
Yeah.
Pouncing Paws, which I've been on for a while because I played a traditional Katsu and a Tiger Katsu, and I was really happy that they were coming around on that, because the Strides of Reprisal was a problem when Zen had Art of War for the ability to instantly banish it and get rid of one of the big problems there. But other than that, Tiger in Hand versus Tiger in Banish means very little other than with an Enlightened Strike, and I don't even know if all Zens are running Enlightened Strike anymore. I think they should. They probably are.
They probably are, but you still get you still have other ways to get the Tigers to hand, which is totally fine.
Yeah, you're not short on ways of getting Tigers in your hand if you need that.
No, definitely not. And the Zens are good again. I guess they never stop being good. They're just a little bit more fair. Now, is Ancestral Empowerment your favorite overall card?
I think it's got to be, yeah.
It's a good one. I mean, that one draws you the card. Sometimes draws you 2 cards.
Yeah, it's got the... I mean, I've drawn 3 off of it from Mask of Momentum and Whelming Gustwave, and it's just like, how could you let this happen, opponent? Like, you risked so much just on the assumption that I don't have this. But it's definitely like replacing itself and just pumping it 1 on a hero that cares about on hits. It's so satisfying. If it pumped it by 3, I don't think it would be my favorite card. I'd be like, fuck that card. I hate that card.
Too much. It needs to be subtle. And it is.
Oh, yeah.
It is. Yeah. Super sweet. Now, a newer question to the lineup of questions is, if you lived in the world of Wraith, which class and talent would you be?
Yeah. I think I'd probably be a brute, and I think I would be probably a Draconic Brute.
Okay.
Because I do have a sort of unhinged Boston Terrier-like energy at the armory. So I come in guns a-blazing to the armory. So I think my high energy would put me at like a Draconic Brute, but I would like to think of myself as like a Mystic Ninja, but realistically, I'm probably a little bit more hot-headed than that.
Listen, Draconic Brute sounds awesome. And
please make one. Yeah.
Get what's it? Thaw. That's a nice 2 for 6. That has the ice implications, which we're about to talk about. Segues, folks. Now, I gotta say, I put out the feelers for listener questions. I got a few. We'll get to them. But William from the Table Pit just posted the word Jarl, and I'm going to take William's statement and turn it into a topic. So shout out William out there. So Jarl is...
You're taking it and changing it from Jarl to Jarl?
Jarl?
Yeah.
So Jarl is the new elemental guardian with essence of earth and ice. Now, I am surprised that we got both earth and ice on this.
Yeah.
Compared to the split of the Briar's elements that we saw in Rosetta, although lightning is arguably the real problem child in that being mixed with earth. Yeah. So Jarl's here. And what does Jarl say? Well, it's Jarl Vitreaty. Kind of has a little bit of a Dune feel to it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm saying it. And Craig pointed out before we started recording that Jarl's not Jarl's name.
Yeah, Jarlton is. But Jarl is a like a Scandinavian title, which my locals let me know by sending me some like 11-year-old Skyrim video that I'm sure some listeners will unlock a core memory for them. But yeah, Jarl's his title.
So Jarl Vitreaty here says, well, it's a 4 intellect and 40 health hero, adult. This is going to have its own armory deck. This was announced on the live stream that happened a week ago from a week and a half ago at this point, if you're listening to this on the day it came out. And Jarl says, whenever you play an ice card, create a frostbite token in an opponent's exposed head, chest, arms, or legs zone. A zone is exposed if there's nothing in or equipped to it. So, it's a fixed frostbite generation, sounds like to me. And it makes sense because Jarl shows up on Mangle, and Mangle, a card from
Crucible, I believe.
Crucible, cares about destroying equipment. So we have the hero that cares about destroying equipment. What are your thoughts about Jarl as a Katsu fan, actually?
Well, I'm not going to say that this makes Katsu worse, but it doesn't make him better. I really like that Jarl is opening up this new... They don't have it keyworded here, but I guess it is a keyword of exposed, right? I like this idea here. Like the design space, I really like. I am worried about... I'm worried about Oakenold. I'll say it. They're printing a couple of dual elements cards that make me worry that they should be... I would hope that LSS is proactive and just takes that card out of the classic constructed format. But the hero is badass. Like, this is a cool looking hero. This is what I want an Ice Guardian to look like. You know, I mean, it's got a really cool design space of like equipment hate being its primary thing. But the more you look at the card pool, the more versatility you see. It's like almost endlessly versatile. There's a decompose route you could go. You could go strictly ice. There's just so many options here. I'm really excited to see what people come up with. And I'm excited to see how Ira does into it.
Yeah. I mean,
the big one.
That is the other big New hero coming in 2 weeks, actually, or a week and a half at this point. But it is kind of cool. Jarl, it feels like it's kind of interesting. Jarl has a blank text box for probably most of the game, and then kind of like kicks on towards the end of the game. Kind of not unlike Levia's transformed version. It just feels like you're playing two different versions of the deck, but you do have to play to get to that point. So there's cards.
Great reward. It's a great like journey that they were talking about that in their most recent ban of wanting people to go on a meaningful journey in the game. And I think this is a really solid one of forcing your opponent to surrender some of their equipment or just playing out cards that make it impossible for them to use cards from hand, so that they have to break their equipment to get any value on their turn. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, and it also kind of like really makes you think about how you block and how you use your resources, because the biggest like punishment you could get when you, I mean, there was actually a ton of punishments when you played against Oldham, but the Blizzard punishment was always a tough thing for the go wide decks. Now you're like, I almost have to worry about leaving resources for Blizzard or like exposed to the elements, because then I'm exposed. But I'm totally in agreement with you. This is a really cool keyword that we're seeing, because it opens up a lot of design space, because hey, we could see a hero that just cares about having exposed stuff on their side of the field.
I had one thought that I was really excited about, which was a ranger caring about exposed. Like that's a really cool idea to me of like, oh, you have this one, I'm a sharpshooter, I see one weak point that I'm going to exploit, right? That's like an area that opens up for them with this new word. And I think that I hope to see it used again and just see what can be done with it. Because I do feel that this also answers a little bit of a problem that we had during Hot Zen Summer, which was just like block 7 with equipment and win game. Now it's like, you better be sure, if like, even though Zen is still very powerful, but that move is much less powerful now. Now it's very much like, okay, you need to be sure, if you're going to give me all of your equipment, you have to kill me next turn. Yeah. Like, because if not, like, you've got frostbites for the rest of the game. So I really like that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool, because that was, you're right. Traverse the universe was a insane swing for these decks, and like all three, not all three of them, 2 of the 3. New didn't really
Traverse and Reprisals, and it was just like, New has the Mask of Recurring Nightmares, which is awesome. And fair.
So this is pretty cool. I really like this. Now you got me thinking about that Exposed Matters Ranger. Now, hear me out on this. Now it just, you got me down this rabbit hole. The Ranger cares, says if opponent has an exposed arm, whatever slot, your arrow can't be blocked. If that arrow hits, it gets placed in that exposed slot. So you can't just continue to, like, you get maximum 4 unblockable arrows or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like that too, because it does, now you can make tokens of just like arrows sticking out of people's arms. Yeah. I mean, the way I'm thinking about this is like, we have cards that care about aim counters, they get +1, they get dominate, whatever. And I can definitely see a card for a ranger that would care about exposed, where it's like, if an opponent has an exposed arm, if they have an exposed zone and this has a aim counter, it gets +3 and this on hit, and just like stacking up the value on a card. Whereas if it's maybe just 1, it's like it just has the on hit or it just has the buff. But then as you get more into like, all right, your head is exposed and I'm taking aim at your head, you're gonna put a blood rot in every zone. Oh
man, they could really open up the floodgates on the flavor train there, because they can the hero text could be whatever. It's a whole paragraph, and it says, if opponent has an exposed headshot or head slot, headshots can't be blocked this turn, and then whatever. So like the card headshot, and then if the legs hamstring shot, arm shot,
that would be
chest
so cool.
shot. Just like it forces you to play all these like somewhat mediocre arrows in the deck,
but way above rate for that would be awesome.
That'd be really sweet. But I like Jarl. Definitely really cool. I agree. Making Mangle like a really sick card to actually play like was already super cool. Just never really was like whatever. It's kind of it's a good payoff for the crush effect, but just like Bravo and Oldham always had better options. And now a cool thing that we noticed before we started recording as well is there's 2 Jarl specs that we saw. Unforgiving, which is a Guardian block. We'll talk about that in a second. And then Crumble to Eternity. And Crumble to Eternity is pretty important because it's a blue Ice Earth action aura. So that's the Oaken Old issue that you had mentioned. We will see if it's good enough. But I mean, Oaken Old is a great card. I assume we're still going to see a lot of it. But the cool thing about this, if anybody looks on Fabrary, it's the same art, except one's in like the spring and one's in like the winter to represent the earth and ice stuff. I mean, this is sweet. Am I right?
Yeah, I love it. I think that like Flesh and Blood games are won and lost based off of flavor. It's just like, do you aesthetically have like the matte, that matches your hero and stuff? And this is a great way of like showing the whole Olin sort of like journey of like, oh, this great society, and now it's frozen to ice, and they're all coming back in like 100 years later. probably way more than that, but I love it.
Yeah, it's sweet. Now the question is here though, is Jarl going to be cream of the crop in Classic Constructed? This comes out right after Thanksgiving here in the States, like right before December. So it won't be legal for Worlds, but it will be legal for the next sets kind of season and beyond. Is this a fixed enough Earth Ice hero? Because the card pool is insane. It is.
My feelings on this are, I think it's time to put trust back in LSS a little. Mm-hmm. I do feel like after Zen and how people, Enigma is not everyone's favorite matchup, but after the previous season of Zen, even when heavy hitters came out, the doomsaying about KO was insane. He's on a speed run to LL. And I mean, Zen made that look like nothing. And then now it's Enigma, and now it's Dio, and Dio is going to be too crazy. And I am worried about Dio, but less so now that Jarl's coming out. And I think that like we're in a place right now where we're having a lot of heroes introduced to the game, which is good for the game. I like that. But it also kind of creates different tiers. And so, this doesn't help Betsy. Betsy's not getting better. And I think a lot of people want to say like, well, make Olympia good first and make this hero good first. But I don't know. I think it's just, we're in a place right now where I see a lot of commentary where this is, the sky is falling. And I participate in that as well. But, when they announced Ira, I was like, what are they thinking? Ira will be way too powerful in CC. And now there's Jarl, and I'm like, what am I thinking? Ira can't compete. It's just, it all remains to be seen. And they've shown that they're proactive with bans. I'm sure everyone wants another card ban that's not quite gotten there yet. Everyone has their card. They're like, this card sucks. I hate playing against it. We're coming for you, Collapsing Trap.
No way.
But, who knows? There's a lot of space for this to go. And I mean, just looking at the 4 cards they've shown, like there's a super powerful play of, you play your Crumble to Eternity, then you block with your Unforgetting, Unforgiving, and then at the start of your turn, they have a equipment with a -1 counter. You have a Dominated Mangle. Like, that is a very cool play line. That's powerful. We can see that. But how often are you able to line that up in games? How often is it relevant?
Yeah.
My predictions are always wrong.
Well,
who knows?
The thing is, I think Guardian players are always going to be piecing together something, right? Because they are arguably the best pitch stack hero, right?
Yeah.
And I don't see anything here that makes me think we're in trouble. The biggest thing to me right now, when I look at something like Jarl, it's like we have 3 at this point, very playable wizards in the game, right?
Yeah.
That aren't doing the Icelander. I mean, maybe Verdance is kind of doing the Icelander thing, but like not really, right? There's still like that big spell kind of thing that Verdance can do, and Acilio is like doing crazy stuff right now as well, and then Kano is still legal. So like when this is a totally different game than when Oldhim was brought into the game, and Oldhim's also hero ability was pretty insane.
I have to say, I do not think that this compares to Oldhim. When you look at the cards they've presented, to me, this looks like a much more aggressive hero. And let's not forget that like block cards cannot be played from Arsenal. This wants a block card, right? It might want to play Trounce as well. We don't know. Like they're clearly designing in mind of like, we can't have Crown of Seeds, 3 Sink Belows, 3 Fate for Scenes, Unmovables, and Oasis Respite in this hero with a hero ability that prevents damage. Like, to me, that seems clear. It's like this hero has an aggressive game plan. It's not just stall you out. And I think that like, if you ask Oldhim players like how bad Oldhim was, like I feel like a lot of them are like, he was fair.
It's the best hero they ever played, and they miss him.
He was so much. he was beautiful. He did nothing wrong. But like, I don't think this is the same. Like, obviously the comparison's going to be made, but I don't think it's going to be the same play style. Who knows? Maybe they find a way, but Crown of Seeds, it's gone.
They'll try. They'll certainly try, but the meat and potatoes of the actual like card text here is a proactive game plan, like you said. So they're going to at least have to do something. So it's not going to be, I think, a toxic kind of gameplay loop. It might be strong, but I don't think it's going to be the best thing ever. There's way too much to prepare for, and I actually think there's some heroes that will fatigue the hell out of this deck.
I think Enigma has so much game into this. I'm like, oh no, a Dominated 8. It'll destroy my equipment that has a pearl for like it's not gonna. Yeah, they're gonna be okay. So there's definitely like, this is not gonna be a 1 hero format when this hero comes out. Not even close.
No, not at all. But very exciting. Happy for the Oldhim fans and the Ice Guardian kind of fans out there to kind of be able to play it again. I know that a lot of people were missing them, especially during the Zen summer that we had. Now, in terms of some other big things from the stream, it was actually just more of a celebration. Jarl was the biggest thing. Notably, I think they mentioned no Monarch Part 3 next year. It's coming in 2026, which is whatever. I think got to let these Light and Shadow heroes kind of still play through their metas before that happens.
Yeah, I mean, they just printed Vincent like yesterday, so I mean,
it feels like it, right?
Yeah. I think that's a good thing. I think honestly, we had a lot of talented sets. I mean, we had 2 talented sets this year out of 3. We're getting a talented hero in this armory set. I don't think talents are going away next year, but I'm happy that they're not doing Monarch 3 right now.
Yeah, I mean, you got to wait till, I think, Leviah and Bolton both LL. I mean, it makes the most sense because we got the Chain and Prism replacements. Likely Prism 2 will lap the other two heroes, but whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be nice to kind of wait for that. Now, I want to ask you, since we know for sure we're not going to Monarch Part 3, we have the world premiere for the next set in Prague in January. What do we think this set is going to be? We'll probably know in a week at Worlds, but guess what? We're creating content, brother.
Speculation is, it's the name of the game, right? And I got a hot one. I got a hot take here.
Hit me.
I think I don't have a hot take. No, I think that we're going back to Volcor. I don't think that's a hot take. I think they alluded to us going back to a set that we've been to before. With Ice coming back, that makes me think there's some room for Icelander. Obviously, they've been printing this Dust for a while. I think we're going back to Volcor next year, but I really hope that's the second set that we get, and that the first set is a set without talents and introduces a new class. That would make me the most happy. I could use a break from talented sets. Just give us a generic set with a new class. I'd be over the moon.
We're due for the Necromancer, most certainly. We've been seeing a lot of hints towards it, including Call to the Grave. Yes, Call to the Grave from this most recent set, and
cut through the facade. I think is a very Necromancer-esque card. Yeah. So
that could be what's next. They use this really gothic font for the world premiere Prague. Ooh. I mean, we can read into that as much as we want. I'm hoping for pirates. And we see a lot of pirates.
That's what I want the first set to be, is Necromancers versus Pirates. There's been some insinuation that we might get that on some card art, and God, that would be so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I just think of even the Black Pearl, right? Pirates of the Caribbean, just like those skeleton pirates. That is the coolest thing ever, and I think we should have it. I don't know, LSS, print it now.
We've been good. We deserve skeleton pirates. I will say, if that's the case, then the Flesh and Blood community is instantly they're going to be posting skeleton feet online and be like, LSS has an obsession, and it's just going to be no, they just don't wear shoes because they're skeletons.
Yeah. I mean, the community loves feet, and guess what? Hey, listen.
Gotta give the people what they want.
I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum out there. Yeah. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. Although everybody likes to yuck my yums. I will say that, folks, in the comments. Now, Craig, we have some listener questions, if you're ready to answer them.
Yeah, let's do it.
First one coming in hot from Capolo, who asks 2 questions. When is the podcast coming to Apple Podcasts? Mm-hmm. And then, how many times have you actually started 03 in a tournament? Any card game counts?
Okay, so a little bit of behind the scenes. Apple requires that you pay to be on their platform. As far as I'm aware, at least when we looked into it, to be on iTunes or the Apple Store or whatever it's called now, there was some fee. I ain't paying that. So YouTube, we're talking about how we can be better about getting things uploaded to Spotify. I was kind of the opinion that no one listens on Spotify. We don't need to upload on there. And it turns out I only really thought that because I didn't want to upload to Spotify. I was just kind of being lazy. And we have gotten feedback that people do want that. And so we are going to be doing that. And then how many times have I started 03 in a tournament? I've gone 03 at plenty of armories.
Counts, probably.
Yeah, in a tournament setting, I have never gone 0-3, but I have, gone 1-3. you know. But I am, I think, of the three of us, I'm the sweatiest competitor. I also have the most free time on my hands, which allows me to, do that. So I do try and not 0-3 drop, and recently more and more people have been saying, like, what are you doing in the top 8? You're supposed to be bad at this game. And I'm like, that's not the point. It's just a good name. I don't suck. I just like the name.
Now, I will say I also used to be on the other side of the coin. I used to be like, nobody wants to listen to a podcast on YouTube. And here I gave in. I was a Spotify, or I was a audio platform guy only. I use Spotify for podcasters. If you have a Spotify account, you guys could just use that. And I think you can just pop in your RSS feed for Apple Podcasts, and they'll send it to them.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it does for me. So I don't pay anything to them.
If we can find a way to do it without giving them a dime, then yeah. But if they even ask me for my signature, I'm out.
Next question comes from Dr. Runebabe, aka Anna, who asked, which fab card makes the best button?
Yeah, that's easily Cold Foil Light of Soul. It's just once you see it in button, it's gorgeous. But Anna did some button making with us at Camp Green Tree, and I got the Surging Strike combo line. But I didn't have a Dishonor on me at the time. And that was the day before they printed the underwhelming Gust Wave, and I was like, I'm gonna have to make so many more buttons. But I love my buttons from Runebabe. They're great.
She's the best. Mr. Viz, aka Gary, asks, what's your favorite resource for fab graphic design?
So the best resource for fab graphic design is the LSS Fab TCG marketing resources. Just, that's a great page just to grab official art, grab whatever you need. And then sometimes with design, you just put something together, you slap it together, and you're just like, that's good enough. That works for, if I'm making a video, it's like, all right, whatever. That works. And then there's other times where you're like, I got 2 hours. I'm gonna make something silly, and then you can have fun, and you can find, all right, what's a meme that might fit this, thing. And the other day I posted Jarl with some yassified fingernails saying where my mangle girlie's at, and that I would have loved to use that for a thumbnail. That was great, but at the time it's like, all right, I want to be the first person to have a video out on Jarl. Let's just put this together. Grab something from LSS's marketing resources and get moving. So, they're the best place for Flesh and Blood, official art.
Amen to that. A person that you might know, Smithel, asks, why is Katsu so bad?
I would say that Katsu right now, I'll try and give a serious answer despite the fact that I loathe the questioner. Just kidding. He's my co-host. We love Smithel. Katsu's bad right now because he's just playing 2020 Flesh and Blood. He's just he's just playing Everfest Flesh and Blood. A lot of his cards that were powerful were removed from the game. Obviously, Bonds was a huge part of that package. And they print new cards that are pretty good for Katsu, but they did not in Mistveil print enough support to keep different versions of Katsu alive without Art of War. So, I'm a big fan of Crouching Tiger Katsu, but it doesn't keep up with other heroes right now, because if you want to play that style, you're going through a lot of hoops to create a tiger, then to give that tiger any sort of value, whether swinging your weapon, tearing or Tiger Stripe Shuko, Untamed. You got to give that tiger value, and then what are you going to do with the next one, right? So Art of War was the glue for that package. It said, okay, you can have a large tiger chain, and they're all going to be buffed. Like Art of War, Head Leads the Tail, and Roar of the Tiger were the 3 ways to make all of your tigers buffed in Katsu. Now there's only 2 ways to do that. So that makes him worse. And then, I mean, the traditional package is just, like I said, it's an older school Flesh and Blood where, I mean, it almost feels like the same way like mid-range heroes aren't doing great right now. Is just the heroes that are able to stall or go in this hyper aggressive route are just doing things that you want to do better.
Yeah, and just very weak to probably disruption right now too, and it's just I
will say though that like there's only one thing that I will like stand by that LSS has gotten wrong, and it's Bonds of Ancestry should just be banned in LL for Zen. And Katsu should have that. That hurts so bad. The fact that everyone has people talk about LL, it's like it's a format where you get to play all your favorite heroes and their most powerful cards, and it's like, well, maybe you do.
Yeah.
The one chance of dishonoring someone is pretty sad. It
is, and maybe they'll. No, I don't even want to. I'm not even going to put anything into the world that's going to be wrong. Because I don't know what they're going to do with Katsu, but hopefully...
I'll put this out there. I think that Katsu and Riptide both could fit pretty well in a set that involves necromancers and pirates. Because Katsu just shows up places, and Riptide's a pirate. That's enough reason for me.
That's like a We Meet Again. Outsiders Part 2.
Yeah.
2 out, 2 side. Last question comes from Darth Prentice, a.k.a. Greg. Audio guy, would love to know what Poopy's favorite generic card is.
Mischievous Meeps. I love Mischievous Meeps. Like I always joke in our Discords, like this is the Meeps meta. But I really thought for a moment, I was like, if Verdance is the best deck, or if Dio is the best deck, then it's the Meeps meta. We can do this. Like stealing healing pots, stealing cerebellum processors. Like this is our time. I'm still not sold on that, but one of these days Meeps are gonna be. I also play Benji though, so Meeps and Benji. Mwah.
Oh yeah, you're really cooking there. I think it's a hack to reality meta. God. I don't know if you know I've got like 13 rainbow foil hack to realities that I didn't spec. I just pulled them. Do you have? Really? I don't have, but I have right here a bunch of hack to realities. I'm ready for some real reality. I want to hack it.
Yeah. You know what? I thought, like, I think about that card almost every day because I'm like, why? Like, it doesn't do anything into Enigma. Like, it hurts me so bad that card is just like unplayable into Enigma. It does not do anything. But one of these days, it's Hacked Reality's time.
Yeah, I mean, it does some stuff to Acilio. It does some stuff to Aurora, admittedly, and Prism, which is a real threat as well. So I don't know. I still don't think it's that great.
I think it's Cope. I don't think that card is good at all. Though it does make me think of my new favorite interaction. Is Deadwood Dirging a Blood Rot Pox. Just you want to talk about destroying an aura? Just being like, you know what? I don't like that. I don't like that inertia token there. Let's make that 3 rune chance.
Yeah, nice.
Beautiful.
Give me your frailty, give me your inertia, give me your blood rot. It's kind of annoying as a Riptide player, but that's all right. It's also annoying when I take damage from my own auras or the only auras that I gave them against Prism, but what can you do, right? It is what it is. Now, this has been a blast. Poopy, Mr. Poop King, Craig, I appreciate you. Please plug everything you need to plug. And I'm looking forward to being on the show this week, which I don't think you'll be a part of.
No, I've got a full schedule this week, and I think that's going to be that content going forward of just kind of like casually playing games and stuff. I think Chris and Bryce are going to take the lead on that. But it's been a pleasure. Follow us, O3 Drop on YouTube. We've made the switch from Twitter X to Blue Sky. We're O3 Drop on there as well, plus all the additional Blue Sky stuff that they put on your profile. We're still on Twitter, but I'm liking Blue Sky a lot. I'll be posting there. Coming up soon, I'm going to do an interview with Kevin Breyer to talk about Chain and Living Legend. So if that interests anyone, check out our podcast. It'll be on there.
Sounds good. Please check them out and follow them on all socials. I am still on Twitter, but I am also on Blue Sky as well, at freshbudspod, and whatever you mentioned that they throw on the end. I don't like that part, I'll be honest with you.
I think now that they're getting users, I think that's going to go eventually. All right, we're going to stay here. We got to talk about all this additional.
Yeah, but it seems pretty great. A lot of flesh and blood people over there, and the engagement's great. So if anybody's on the fence about at least checking out Blue Sky, I would recommend it wholeheartedly. It's been pretty cool. I'll still be on both. Don't want to lose Fresh Buds Pod over at Twitter in case something happens that it gets better again. But you can find me all over there. Check out the YouTube. Fresh Juice, the indie game podcast I do with my cousin, and the Buds Discord, free for everybody to join. It's how you submit listener questions. And finally, Craig, I like to talk about food at the end of every episode. Hit me from Pittsburgh, maybe some fruit from down there, down the house.
So Pittsburgh's got a big Polish culture, and like my favorite comfort food around this time of year is halushki. And halushki is just like noodles and cabbage. Ooh. And it's so good. So I'm going to say halushki, get your pierogies, like fill your belly with some nice warm carbs, keep you warm all season long. It's delicious. You'll love it.
It does.
Get some kielbasa. Oh my God.
Some pierogies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good permanis.
No, I actually that is our like novelty.
Yeah,
that is our novelty attraction where it's like, oh, permanis is great. No, it's just food that's here that is like kind of a gimmick, but it's not great food. Pittsburgh has great food. Permanis is not it.
I will say there is a permanis that is a really good account of the company I work for that I go out to once a month in Central PA. And we just happen to go there every time. And every time I'm disappointed, I'll tell you that much.
You know what? If you keep your expectations low, it'll never fail you. Like it's a great place to watch a Steeler game if you don't mind like children being there and yelling. Like it sucks.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's not the best, but shout out to them anyway. You know.
Yeah.
I'll take the sponsorship. Come on.
Yeah. Big fan of the channel.
And unfortunately, because we talked about Permani so much, we don't have time for Charmer, but we'll get to him next time. Thank you all, and stay fresh.